like to give each of you maybe a minute, okay, for some key takeaways. And since Rashid was the first speaker, just take a minute for some key takeaways you'd like to leave the audience with.
Yeah, sure, Sal. So zero trust is key to securing any IT infrastructure, and that's against insider threats, both from employees and outsiders, because remember, they're trying to impersonate an insider. You want to also have proof positive identity, followed by things like authentication, and only then can you give authorize any access to any critical IT assets. You want to implement a robust privileged access management solution. This is the first step towards security for your critical resources, followed by an endpoint privilege management solution, and also following that, you want to have an identity and access management product. You want to look back at the three key phrases that we mentioned earlier, the principle of least privilege, zero standing privileges, and just in time. By implementing these three frameworks within the access management solution and the PAM solution, it'll help you create a true zero trust security framework. So they're just key bullet points, just emphasizing what we spoke about earlier in a lot of the slides I presented.
Thank you, Rashid. And Michael Scheidell, some key takeaways from you, please.
Going back to it all, security is all about managing the risks, rather than eliminating it. You can spend 150% of the gross of a company trying to fix all of the security issues. If you have a security person or a security program that is focusing on fixing vulnerabilities rather than addressing the highest risks, then you're going to spend money on things that almost will never happen again. The CISO, he walks in and talks to the CFO and says, I found a risk. The CFO first says, what's it going to cost me? The CISO goes into the CIO. We talked about reducing productivity. And he says, I found a risk. The CIO says, I've got these projects. I've got these DevOps projects. I've got these, new systems that the marketing people want me to put out. We're moving to a new office in, Sussex. What's this going to slow me down? What's going to happen to the rest of the network? You go to the CIO, you go to the chairman of the board, and you tell the chairman of the board, hey, look, I found a risk. And the chairman of the board's like, so? I drove at 250 kilometers an hour on the Autobahn. I loved it. My whole life is risk. Why are you coming to me about risk? So you have to look at the risks that are happening in the network. You have to look at the risks that are happening in the company. You have to address them as a business opportunity, not the old ROSI, return on security investment, that we abandoned a long time ago because we finally decided it was impossible to predict how many machines would be hacked and what it was going to cost for each machine to be hacked. But rather, if you can go to the CFO and say, look, I'm not spending 150,000 euros. Let me show you how much more money we can make. I can show you we can make 250,000 euros by implementing this. Here's what we're going to do step by step to do that. It will increase productivity, reduce risk. E-commerce end users or internal employees are going to be able to work faster. It'll be more efficient. And from my standpoint, that's the only way you can approach a security project, is to show, business of business is business, is to show that this is going to be good for the business. Sad fact about the Target thing, 6 months after the hack, I think their stock was at an all-time high. If the board of directors had recommended spending a lot of money on information security and the stock price went down, they could get sued. As it is, they spent the money on marketing and not security. It went up. Now, this sounds like I'm going against everything that the two of us have been talking about, but if you focus on security as its own issue, then you can't focus on the business aspects. As soon as you start focusing on the business aspects of it, helping the business out, then it makes it a lot easier to justify the projects. And put in those privileged access management systems. Hire that extra application security DevOps person. You can justify it by showing how much more money you're going to make.